Hello everyone and welcome to Old World. We are back once more with another session of the Old World 2026 Community Tournament. This time with Moroten versus Chloris. Very exciting time. This is a four-part session. We're on turn 94 here, and there's been tremendous amounts of skirmishing over the initially Kushite city of Sayala, and the Kushite forces have also come down south here to Djurti, and there's been some skirmishing in the northern part of the map as well. So, very exciting time. Fighting all over the map in an effort to claim dominance here. Take a look at that power graph. And also let our friends on Discord know that we are live once more. Yep, our friends know. If you're joining us live, welcome. If you're joining us after the fact on YouTube, I hope you've been enjoying the tournament. And there's lots and lots of content. Whether you're watching while the tournament is going on in 2026, or if you've been scouring the internet for any amount of old world content you could possibly find because maybe you just got into the game because it's always on sale, welcome. I hope you are enjoying all of the content if you are stumbling upon this video introduction now. Feel free to join the Discord to join the conversation. My name is Scientific, and I love talking about this game as much as humanly possible, even if I'm a bit sassy about it sometimes. Alright, so we are Kush versus Egypt. Turn 94. Several wars going on. It looks like the front near Jeanette and Sedanga has eased up. There was some units up here at one point. We have some rushing going on. Let's look at the overall power again. Yes, so basically little bit of an advantage here for the Egyptians. And they did made it to cross over Sayala and secure the city. Well, almost secure the city. Seriously intense fighting over this position. If you're joining in late here, maybe you're just skipping to this part in the game, certainly worthwhile to check out part 3 of this matchup because lots and lots of intense battles going on and huge skirmishing. And as we can see here again once more, the power graph tells the tale of the last 10 turns. Devastating losses for both Egypt and Kush. It looks like Egypt has gained the upper hand here with this hero. On the Kushite side, there is a zealot, very likely helping to training rush Beja archers. So basically, we're going to have to keep our eyes peeled across the map here. 58 orders for the Egyptians compared to 79 orders for the Kushites. Ah, yes, I know where we're at. The Kushites do not yet have doctrine. And that seems like a big mistake. If you're going to be a nation that has a very strong order economy, and Kush is one of them, and don't we have Heliopolis in this game? Yes, and the Kushites have secured Heliopolis. If you're going to be Heliopolis Kush, man, and you don't bring in orthodoxy, at least in time to be in sync with Heliopolis coming online, what are you doing? I don't get it. Because, I mean, 79 orders per turn, right? Compared to 56 for Egypt. You figure you could fight a war on the same level that Egypt can and also rush out indefinitely at least 1 unit per turn for the rest of the game. Doesn't matter the training output of the city. Irrelevant. It doesn't matter if there isn't a single barracks in the city. It's now a 1-turn unit production. And you can spread it around all across your empire. Which means the order cost isn't going to scale up as dramatically as you think it does. And then once it starts to, Okay, well then you'll put a little production into the city. And then your 1-turn unit anywhere becomes something like a 3-turn unit anywhere, which is still great, because if we look at these Meijas here, it's still a 7-turn Meiji or 10-turn Beja. That could still get cut down to something like 3 or 4 turns, even if you're adding in production in the city and then slamming the ortho button. So very, very powerful law. Don't neglect it if you have the order economy to sustain it. And yeah, if you're Kush with the Heliopolis, you should certainly have the order economy to sustain it. No movements seem to be being made yet from the Egyptians. So I'm going to have to kind of keep bouncing. Oh, hi. Come on. Come on. We have to keep bouncing around between the two fronts. Here. And, whoops, I probably making noise on my mic, my bad. Okay. Did we get a kill? Yep. Where we go? All right, so we're moving down here. Egypt is coming down to Jerti and doing a counterattack. Very, very exciting. It should, I suspect this will be the final session. Maybe not, but it's entirely possible. Things not looking too hot for Kush. Economy in Egypt is fantastic. Science in Egypt is fantastic. Economy in Kush is okay, but nothing amazing. Like, for example, we have 46 food and 51 iron, and those are currently the most expensive resources in the game. And by 46 and 51, I mean per turn. And this is for Kush. Meanwhile, we're making nearly 300 stone, but the sale price has bottomed out, right? So if we're trying to sell that stone to fund our actual economy, late stage economy for units and stuff, that's not going to be a really good bargain. If we hop on over to Egypt, they're making 235 stone, so they're in a similar position in terms of overall capacity to sell stone for resources, which again, not the best bargain. However, if we look at their food and iron, we're now making 184 food per turn and 115 food per turn, and both nations have a similar wood output. So overall, the economy is much stronger on the Egyptian side for full-scale, long-form, drawn-out war. I suspect Egypt will probably try to maintain control of this city before advancing. However, honestly, looking at some of this damage output, oh, we don't have a launch offensive on us. All right, so never mind. That could be something to think about when we look at how much damage we can do here, right? That's one attack. 2. 3. How close do we get? Yeah, I think we could knock down this wall. Certainly knock down the walls, and entirely possible we could take this city with a launch offensive, to be honest. Kawa. Which is not great news for Kush. But of course, we will have some more units coming out next turn. Building a bireme, which I find fascinating. Although, I guess, yeah, no. We want to try and deny Egypt's ability to hop back and forth between both fronts. There has been some naval skirmishing over this kind of ocean here, because Egypt has been using it to great effect to hop back and forth between these two locations. No healing here, which I find interesting. Don't forget you can heal inside of neutral forts. We did see the slinger. Step on the fort, but it's not healing. There you go. Alright, Mounted Lancer coming out in 3 turns. We have inquiries online as well. Look at this. Look at all these inquiries. Beautiful. And you know what another thing you can do to inquiries? Look at this. You can rush them. Oh, it looks like we don't have an... Oh, our Christianity is not in the city. Okay, yeah. You can ortho rush inquiries, which is another great way to use late stage order economy. So basically the thing is like, people get into this, I don't want to call it a rut, but fixation of perpetual development, right? They have something like crazy, like 58 or more orders per turn on whatever turn we're at, and they're just building more and more and more mines and quarries and farms and whatever else. But really, 184 for food is pretty sustainable. You know, 235 stone is fine. You could obviously keep it ramping up if you want, and some players do that, and it works out very well for them. However, I like to translate that order economy into momentum and power. So I basically reach it once. My thing is, my whole rant about the orthodoxy thing is, once I hit levels like 50 or more orders, give or take, and if my economy is strong, you know, I don't need to send my 12 or 16 or however many workers I have running around building farms or whatever else, or like, let's say all of my groves are online. Like, there's no clear objective for my workers to be building stuff. Well, then I phase that out. And what do I replace it with? Well, I replace it with ortho-rushing high-powered units, or even here, back here. We have a 3-turn inquiry, so I might not necessarily do it here, but on my strong cultured cities, do we have some more? We actually don't have more scholar. Oh, no, we do have a scholar. I might toss a scholar into here and rush out 3 or 4 inquiries every turn, spending about 30-plus orders per turn, rushing out inquiries. Now, we do make 200 science per turn in this particular game, so that's not as big of an increase. But if I were making 100 science per turn, a rushed out inquiry is basically going to instantly double my science output, because you can just basically keep rushing them indefinitely until you decide that you need the orders. And it's a great way to shoot through the tech tree in the back half of the game. Hello, Boldus. Hello, Boldus, are you done already? Did they stop? Or are you just hanging out for the views? And hello, Constant. Beja Archer's coming. Oh, right. And yes, this is another problem. What was this? This was like a 7 or 8 turn Beja, free Beja Archers, when in reality we should have been going for either the longbows, because that would have given us 2 8 strength units for half the cost as the Bejas. So very similar output, power output there from these 2 units, but you would have been investing half the science, which would get you moving towards... Magnus had to go. Okay, that's a bummer. Hello, Skipper. All right, well, thanks for tuning in. Yeah, so he's going to get himself... Basically, he's going to get 2 8 strength units either way. And the Archer and the Longbow really aren't that much different. Of course, the Beja Archers have that 20% bonus, so they are slightly stronger, and they do synergize off of each other. But you're basically playing twice as much science for that 20% for each unit. I don't think that's worth it, especially in the face of the fact that we have lots of other high-value techs that we could be hoping to cycle to. Maybe even infantry square instead of the longbow. Ditch both free bonus units and just go straight to infantry square, since our main issue at the moment is these mounted lancers. If we could... You know, the pikes are still going to take full damage from the mounted lancers, so it's less of a hard counter as it would be if they were like heavy chariots or Carthaginian elephants. But still, if we can easily blow up some of these light remain, and some of these are actually still light chariots. Light chariots or mounted lancers. That would go a long way. In fact, Egypt is still building light chariots in some locations and also rushing out horsemen. So they're basically, if we look across the build queues of Egypt, we do have a maceman, and we have an onager, and I guess we have a few more macemen. So we're finally bringing some infantry online, but most of the force of Egypt seems to be centered around primarily mounted units for quite some time here. No heals in Egypt. Yes, indeed. That's very interesting here. Very interesting. This seems like a mistake. This is wide open. I don't know why you would do that. Maybe it's a bait and he's thinking, where is our capital on this map? All the way back here? Because the 2 Bages come out next turn, but I don't know. That's a bit of a hike north to really ambush anybody. If we said our capital was in Kerma, I could understand leaving a little bit of bait right here, because maybe your opponent said, all right, well, I'm just going to take an easy kill here, and the next thing you know, there's a little bit more power in the region. We have a couple of Bages up north. We would have 2 more coming out in Kerma, but Moroten, although, you know what? Never mind. We'll have 200 training, enough training for force marching next turn, and we have 69 orders per turn, so we can afford it. You can still ambush from Moreau. I think the thing we'd be worried about after the fact is the distance, but we are a zealot, so yeah, we can force march that. All right, so maybe this is a bait. I think when your opponent is stronger... Actually, hold on. Do I really think that? I was going to say, I think when the opponent is stronger than you want to be... Well, you certainly do want to be more careful about baiting, but do I think you'd want to not try and bait? I don't think I would go that far. Because if you could get these units to come in here, just 3 of these guys, right? To come in here, or 2 in this case, the hero comes in, to kill what seems like an easy onager, and it nets you, for example, killing the hero ruler, and not permanently, but just getting the general off of the ruler, off of the unit for a turn, that would be a big deal. That could really help you long term, because every turn that these generals aren't on their units makes it less of a chance that they can do scary things like launch offensive, because they have to waste a whole additional turn assigning the ruler to a unit again as a general. So it looks like the conflict in the southwest, forgive me, is not going that great for Kush. We're retreating back to our fort line. I think we'll definitely lose this axe. The question is, are we going to lose everything else? It's looking like a pretty dead slinger to me. And maybe that's a beefy enough zealot that we won't really be able to kill it. But looking like a dead axe, looking like a dead slinger. This is not an unlimited onager, so no real reason not to take these kills. Oh, wait. We can come around anyway, because of the really great use of anchoring from Moroten on this map, by the way. Very, very great showing of tactics. I forget. Remind me. Because this has been a really great game. This has been a really, really great battle up here at Sayala. I wish I could say this properly. Sayala? Sayala? Somebody spell it out for me in chat, and I'll try to do it better. But anyway, but remind me, there was at least a moment where it looked like Kush was coming back, right? I feel like we had... again, if you haven't seen Part 3, I highly recommend go back and watch it, because I was kind of watching it bits and pieces. And I remember I feel like I vaguely remember a moment up here where it looked like Kush was taking everything back, and I think Egypt made a couple of mistakes, a couple of bold moves that didn't really pan out. Now, it looks like we've taken back a strong position up here. But still, not looking so great. Kush decided to open up the southern front, took the city, and seems to have kind of lost momentum. Excuse me. All right, thank you, Aaron. Aaron's saying Kush was looking strong until Egypt hit Sayala, and then it was back and forth for a few turns. Yeah, I basically the most I caught was a good chunk of the battle of Sayala. Salai, I can't say it. This city, the battle for this city. Yes, launch offensive certainly going to come in clutch in this time frame. Very, very powerful ability, arguably one of the strongest abilities in the game, but interestingly enough, not overly utilized. I think the consistency of the Zealot fatigue and rush capability makes people more often than not try to arrange themselves a Zealot for the late stage big battles. But as long as you're diligent with your training output and you understand the tactics of it, I think, and I suppose arguably have a good unit composition for it too. It shines with ranged unit compositions in particular, and I think there's quite possibly no better composition than the Mounted Lancer itself, due to the mobility and order efficiency of being able to move your kill squad around, if you want to call it that. But anyway, yeah, no, the hero is devastatingly strong in these endgame battles. They can I think enough of us know that all it really takes is one really strong turn to turn the tide of a tense battle, right? And the hero ability can give you that turn. But I think what makes the Zealot more popular is that fatigue is probably consistently more valuable, because mobility also leads to more efficient turns and more kills and all that fun stuff. But yeah, no, the hero is very, very powerful. It's also a swift hero, a fierce hero with the Book of Secrets, witty, ruthless, magic practitioner, and the Book of Secrets is going to amount to a decent amount of opinion, by the way, because let's not forget that the Egyptians' primary religion for their families is pagan, and magic practitioner is a plus 20 opinion for your pagan religion. So if we combine that plus the Book of Secrets, this one ruler, just for existing, is a plus 60 opinion for all three families. That's pretty amazing. On top of being ruthless, 10 courage, fierce, swift, and of course the hero. So that is an end game ruler if I've ever seen one. This is the type of ruler that can take a nation to victory for sure. All right, we have the Kushites coming out into the coast, killing in one fell swoop the anchored Byreme, cutting off the south and the north from each other, finally dealing with that issue. Now, I'm just curious. Now, look at the Mounted Lancer, though. Look, this Mounted Lancer from at least this position can still get all the way down here, right? I'm curious about one up front. What about the hero? The hero is also swift, so the hero can get to here. But, of course, with Force March, the Mounted Lancer can go anywhere. The Mounted Lancer is my personal favorite unit in the entire game. I'm not necessarily saying it is the strongest unit in the entire game, although I certainly think there is a case to be made for it being certainly one of the strongest units, but it is absolutely my favorite unit in the game, and quite simply because you basically reach a point in these end game scenarios where these things can go virtually anywhere. And if you have the order economy and the training economy and, of course, the mobility, it makes it so hard as an opponent dealing with the Mounted Lancer to predict where they're going to hit next, which gives you, the Egyptians, a lot of battlefield control, because you can go wherever your opponent's army isn't. All right, we have a mass stockpiling of Bages. We have the 2 free Bages, the 2 Bages that we just built, the 1 or 2 that were hanging around, and we have a route chain coming up. It does look like we will secure Sayala once more, so denying yet again. This city, since it has been breached, has not, I believe, has not yet fallen to either side since it has been breached. And this has been a beautiful 1-2 punch from Chloris. an advanced position. We take out an onager. We routed two or three units, retook the city, but most crucially, we have also stopped the anchor potential, at least to prevent any immediate reinforcement. For example, this elephant. Actually, that's funny. The elephant can get here with a force march. But it's still going to be resource intensive. So if we look on the Egyptian side, they don't have enough training for force marches. They will be able to do 3 force marches next turn if they wish, but that's going to make the order costs more expensive. But most importantly for us, in our concern as a Kush player, the more we force our opponent to use force march in order to regain positioning, the more likely, or the less likely rather, it becomes that they have the it becomes such that they have the training to run the devastating launch offensive. What that means, you put your opponent into a position of needing to make tough tactical decisions. Am I stockpiling my training to do a massive 1 damage attack? Or am I just draining it constantly to get my troops where they need to be now, in this moment, on this turn? So really, really great positioning, really, really great tactics from Kush. And all of these are hunters, by the way. Oh, no. 3 of them are hunters, and that's a little bit inefficient, actually, but I'm not going to nitpick it. But I just noticed that only 3 of these are hunters, and the 3 hunters are right here. So this hunter should actually be back here on this tile, and this artisan should be forward, and that would actually be the perfect placement, but whatever, who cares. But anyway, yes, 2 of these guys are in borders. They're hunters, beiges, next to each other, so this is going to be plus 40% attack, plus 50, because they are inside a friendly hunter's border. And let's take a look over at the politics, and oh, good lord, what is this? This is plus 10, so this, let's do the math on this. It's 20% attack for the adjacency, 20% attack for the sentinel, 10% for being in the border, and another 10% for being politically happy. So this is a plus 60% attack, Beja Archer, and it's a plus 40% on the defense, Beja Archer. That's crazy. Yep, and we are noticing that the Egyptians did not really heal in some of these forts. There were 2 forts in the region. The scout, the slinger was put in the fort, but never healed for some reason. All right, we've retaken the city with a spear, an elephant, and a mace. So once more, 5 turns, by the way. This is a 5-turn capture. And Egypt has not yet been able to secure it. We do have our rushed out horsemen hitting the field, so we will be able to enjoy the ability of doing a rout in return to our Kushite foes. 1 onager down. Maceman coming up next. Oh, wow, look at this damage from this hero, by the way. That's just disgusting. We don't want to use this, though. We want to use this mounted lancer here to secure the route. This mounted lancer and this horse will get us a route, and then we could use the hero to probably route at least 1 Beja, which would be nice. And of course, I'm sure Chloris is sweating at the possibility that the Egyptians could have another launch offensive in the tank. What happened to the Egyptian hero, I am not sure. Take a peek. I don't know. We had a builder on the throne. Zealot. Maybe she transformed from a hero to a zealot? Oh, no, the Egyptian hero is right here. I thought you were asking... No, I thought you were asking about the Kushite. Yeah, Egypt's hero is right here. But she can't do a launch offensive right now. She did a crap load of damage. She did 11 damage, so I'm suspecting that this hero will come up and try to secure routes deeper into these Bejas. We're just... Moroten is taking his time doing math, combat math. 57 seconds left on the clock to do that combat math, and actually only 0 orders left. So yeah, that's it. That's our turn. Well, no, I'm on the wrong guy. 32 orders left. My bad, guys. Yeah, I was still on Kush. But still only 30 seconds left on the clock. So 30 seconds left to deal out 32 orders worth of stuff. All right, we did kill. Now let's look at the return fire. This horseman's definitely dead if we want it. The hero... See, that's going to be a tough call. It's like, do you kill the hero or you kill a couple of other things? I'm thinking you kill the hero. In fact, we were just discussing this on Discord last night. The ability of, do you go for killing more units or more health, or do you go for killing the bigger threat? 3 ships coming out into the ocean. Oh, no! Okay, there we go. The longbow gets a kill secure. Fantastic. So now it's 3 ships. Well, 4 ships. We have ships coming up to flank. If we can make a force march here, that would help. No. All right, we're not doing it. That's fine. All right, great, strong counterattack here from Moroten. He probably does have reserve time. Yes, he has 464 seconds of reserve time. Of course, I have no idea if he's one of the players that remembers to use it ever, because I certainly don't. All right, we do have the potential for a strong counterattack here, I think. But, I don't know, that's a lot of units to try and chew through, so I think, as cool as it was to take the city and buy us more time, maybe that was the right play, but I think now we might need to back off again and get stronger once more. We could alternatively... Basically, our decision here is, do we kill 3 units or do you kill the hero? And I think ultimately, if you're going to stay and fight, you have to kill the hero. Because the most important thing is we don't know if there's a launch offensive in the tank. So it's way too risky to leave a hero alive. And then maybe we get lucky and actually murder the ruler in the field. Nice. Coming in for another route. So it looks like we are going for the multi-kill here. I think we were hoping for a panic there, but very frustratingly, we are not able to panic rulers. Always annoying. I make that mistake all the time, playing all the Tamil games I've been playing. Even though I'm always spamming elephant games, I have very often, occasionally... That doesn't make sense. Often and occasionally. I very occasionally make the mistake of thinking that I'm going to panic my opponent's ruler into a position, and then I just put my elephant in a very vulnerable spot. Super frustrating. Otherwise, I can't think of any reason why we would have attacked that unit with an elephant. I think what Chloris was hoping to do was to panic it into this tile, hit it with the remaining beiges, and then route into it with the chariot. Does that make sense? Yep, that would be 7. 5 would be 12. 3 would be 15. Yeah, would be able to do it. All of these guys just firing into this tile with the chariot would have been able to get us this guy dead, and then the slinger obviously dead, and then, I don't know, another attack on something else. Yeah, this certainly does seem to be one of the more brutal battles, more brutal back and forth we've seen thus far in the tournament. It's always an exciting time. Great to be back at the helm casting a game with such intensity. Been on a bit of a break recently, which has been wonderful because we've gotten tons of new people involved in the casting scene. I think the last time I checked per Ankh, we had something like 20 people, nearly 20 people at this point that have at least cast one game. So tons of people are getting involved, which is really cool. And awesome to see, and always happy to have more people get involved if you've been thinking about streaming a game at all, or casting or co-casting. does look like this onager survives. In fact, the other good thing about pressuring this central ocean is that it seems to have dragged this anchor away from the Ligurian Sea, which is actually going to make it harder to aggress into Mirgissa. Because if you remember, a moment ago, all of these units could have just hopped around and been on these tiles, threatening this onager or even the city itself. Now it's going to take a little bit more work to get to these cities. Alright, it looks like we did secure I apologize for not looking at it, but it does look like we have secured the death of the unit that the hero general was on. So the one thing we're going to want to keep an eye on is if she gets a kill event. It's entirely possible. Normally, I think, if I'm recalling correctly, I think they fire on your turn, though. So I think we would already see the event come up. Maybe not all of them do, but I feel like I've seen, like, the flee the field event, I know I've gotten on my turn, while my opponent has killed my ruler. But that one gives you an option to save the life of your ruler. It's kind of like a choice whether you die in the field or not. And if you die in the field, you get 10 legitimacy. And sometimes that can be the correct call, because maybe that means you abdicate through that death, of course, but you abdicate into a better, more interesting ruler, or it gives you options. So that can be fun. And then you get 10 legitimacy rather than needing to pay the 10 legitimacy to swap the ruler. So sometimes flee the field can actually be advantageous to you. As the person who has the ruler dying. Not always, of course. Plenty of players get attached to their rulers, and Nefertiti the Ready is quite fantastic with her plus 60 opinion for all families. Constant suggesting that Egypt may have already had the die in the field event, in which case, of course, it would not fire again. There are multiple field death events, though. I think, if I recall correctly, there's approximately 3 of them, not including the possibility that a ruler themselves could get wounded in battle. But I think there's at least about 3 events that could result in a ruler death due to combat. Seems to me that an heir quite easily dies in the field, but the leader almost never does. Interesting. I've certainly had my leader die in the field more than once. But of course, RNG will do RNG things. I bet you that's a bias, because I bet you we are more likely to put, when you have a general, right, so you say this is an heir, right, it doesn't have a gold icon, and we're just using them however we're using them. The rulers, we kind of have this conscious awareness that they're important, they're powerful, we're using them for specific purposes, so whether it's flanking on a commander, or launch offensive on our hero, or stun for our tacticians, etc., etc. We have a mindset of what we're doing with our units, so they're less likely to be put in harm's way. Whereas if we have our heir almost standing directly right next to our ruler, that still might be the unit that we put a little bit closer to the danger and make it more likely that that unit will die. So I would say that the units our heirs are on are probably dying more often than the units our rulers are on, which means it creates more of an opportunity that those events will trigger for our heirs. So it's probably like, not really an optical illusion, but that's what I'm going to call it. But I could certainly understand why it would seem more common. Alright, it is now Egypt's turn, by the way, and we are retaliating. We have moved up yet another Mounted Lancer. This one with Highlander, which is just going to be gross, because this is all hills up here. We're fighting over mines, and the hero has been replaced onto the unit. We have 646 training, so there will be, if we don't burn through training this round as Egypt, and I feel like there isn't much of a reason to. We can take some losses next turn. We're not getting the most amount of kills. We've taken 2 kills. We've received 3 losses last turn. I think we can eat a few losses here, and then on the next turn, we'll be ready to fire off another launch offensive and have a strong, potentially game-defining turn. EQCR is saying that they know Egypt has had at least 2 death events from the ruler-led unit getting killed in this game. All right, very bloody match indeed. I believe it. And yeah, so that'll make it less and less likely that your ruler will die in the field if that's the case, as the event pool, all of those super spicy, potentially game-changing events are almost all entirely 1 event fire per game. So the assassinations, the coups, the rebellions, or whatever else, most often they will not fire more than once in a game. And yes, we made an attack. Oh, where did I go? We did make a quick attack on the Hunter's capital, and this comes back to the value that I think Mounted Lancers truly provide here. Because consider this, Zealot on the throne for the Kushites means ample potential to continue rushing out units. So these, even if it's a throwaway, you could kill this unit with a couple attacks, but you're basically going to have to make your opponent kind of come do that. So that draws 1 unit away from the line, and then more importantly, it can buy you an entire turn where your opponent can't rush a unit. 1 turn or more even, because even where the damage we have here, actually no, a repair will bring that to full, right? A repair will do 4. But anyway, yeah, no, nice use of the Mounted Lancers. This is one of my personal favorite strategies, to just flank and start harassing build queues. Or another thing you could do if your opponent has a particular strategic resource that they're relying on in order to get their unique unit, like or a powerful unit in general, like camels or horses or elephants. You just dig deep, pillage everything, and also start killing workers and stuff. That's also fun too. Yeah, we probably could have, honestly, actually, look, the hero can make it here. This is the other thing. Let's take a peek. This is why I like Mounted Lancers. I know I just said this, but they can go wherever the battle isn't, right? So theoretically, rather than even countering attack here, we could have just got all of our Mounted Lancers right here in position, get them here healed to full, allow Kush to advance onto the peninsula further, maybe even retaking Sayala back, but then on our next turn, just come straight to Aniba. Take our training and convert it into force marches, and I feel like we have enough damage here. We're doing about 2 pips per Mounted Lancer. You need 5 just to break the city. So basically you need 5 Mounted Lancers, and then a 6th one could probably kill the worker. So if you need to force march all of them, which we don't, because the hero can certainly make it. So you call it 500 training on force marches, and 6 Mounted Lancers, which of course we do not now have in the field, but just gaming this out in general. And there you go. You feint in one direction and then just pop open Aniba in the second direction. And then you have all the units in Sayala have to make a decision to come back and fight Aniba. And then what can you do when they start coming back to fight over Aniba? You can just pop back over to Sayala. Or on the next turn, as they position themselves to try to take killed, you can just do the same thing and force march down to Kerma. Does Kerma have any walls? Probably not, because it's the capital. Look at this! What are we doing? You could blitz down the capital! You're like 500 training and enough orders, and dude, the capital's gonna fall. Oh man, I love this unit so much. You don't that's the thing that makes them so strong to me. Depending on the battlefield, the layout, the terrain, and of course what your opponent is doing with their units, you can basically win a war without actually having to fight real battles with the Mounted Lancer. You can just keep running around and messing up their shit. If we were able to force march a battalion all the way into Kerma and Kerma falls, that would be a devastating blow. And even if we can't hold it, you just then immediately go to Moreau and then Dibera. Meanwhile, the Kushite army is just all the way back here trying to play catch up to an army that is obliterating its empire. And that means, I mean, Kerma is offering 7.7 orders per turn. So let's not forget, when you pop these cities open, you're also crushing your opponent's order economy. Aniba is offering 7 orders per turn. So any big city you take is basically losing your opponent about 7. This one's 9 orders per turn. Crazy. All right, back to Egypt. Turn 99, 61 orders in the till. See what we'll do. Looks like we're just going to keep bashing our heads against this wall. The skirmish continues. Enough training in the bank for a launch offensive. And we do plenty of damage here from this ruler. The Zealot ruler is down south on a mace, by the way. Hello, Jules Jet. Welcome to the chat. $27 of you in the chat. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Thanks for catching what may very well be the final session in this intense match between Chloris and Moroten. Looks like we are lining ourselves up for a launch offensive. We lost 3 units last turn, 3 units the turn prior. And I think in the interim we only killed 2 units ourselves. So now we have 1 unit death this turn. All right, there's a dead spear. Would love to see something take this position here. If we have it. We did get our anchor, by the way. Okay, yep, the hero's where they need to be, but I want to see one more unit up front if we can get it. Nope, there's the offensive anyway. That's fine. Always love to see it. Yeah, Sean, that's the way to do it. If you want to watch an example of that to some degree, check out Aaron versus Nizar from Season 2. Aaron versus Nizar, Egypt versus Greece. Really nice example of just kind of blitzing your opponent down. Not really focusing on battling the armies too much. And it's counterintuitive, right? We talk so much about the strategy about how it's better to kill units in the field than go directly for cities. But the Mounted Lancer is, I think, one of the particular units that can kind of buck that trend because they're so fast that they can literally just outrun your the opposing army. It takes so many... Because think of it this way. Because they have that extra fatigue, and God forbid if you end up with something like a Zealot on the throne or anybody who has Swift or both, each extra fatigue also increases the length of your force march capability. So you're not able to... In total, you're not actually moving 1 fatigue more than your opponent. You're actually, if both players are trying to force march to a location, the person with the extra fatigue is actually moving 2 fatigue further than their opponent. Because you get the extra fatigue on your regular movement, and you get that extra fatigue on your force march like cap. Your full distance fourth march is extended by that extra fatigue as well. So that's another thing that makes the Mounted Lancer particularly powerful, because once we get this end game economy where you have the orders and the training to consistently force march units into multiple different locations, or, you know, over multiple turns, I mean, this is a freaking very fast unit, and it's so hard to keep up with. Boldus is asking if the longer the game goes on, the better it goes for Kush. I'm not sure I feel about that, because Egypt has a stronger economy. I think what we're doing, and they're getting infantry square soon. Not that that necessarily matters against Kush, but Kush is now where Kush is getting a free horse archer instead of infantry. This is 2 times. Yeah, I don't think Chloris is making sound long-term decisions here. Instead of getting the bonus Bejas, and certainly instead of getting the bonus horse archer here, we should have already had infantry square like coming online now-ish, give or take. Or certainly in a couple turns from now, and then a couple of pikes, which certainly look pretty solid for the Kushites at this moment, but we keep delaying it, and by the time the Kushites have their own pikes, or have pikes in general, the Egyptians will have their own pikes, taking more attacks against Aniba, so that's going to be, forcing a repair, so that's good. Is that the other reason why these blitzes are very effective? If your opponent can't immediately smack your unit down, another way to think of it is too, you are basically denying a build queue from them. This will repair indefinitely until Kush can find the time and the power to come take out this unit. So you do that with a couple of Lancers in a couple of different locations, and that creates a major headache for your opponent, especially if they're already on their back foot. That, if nothing else, puts them in a position where they could make mistakes because they have, 3 to 5 different problems they need to solve, and they can't figure out in real time with this network pressure on the clock. They can't figure out in real time the most efficient pathway of dealing with those 5 problems, which ones to cut, which ones to emphasize. So that's something I like about opening multiple fronts, or running blitz campaigns, or pillage campaigns, or whatever else, because even if it's not necessarily the most efficient use of my own orders, of course it can backfire sometimes. In my experience, it feels like more often than not, when you put a lot of pressure on your opponent, it gets them into a position where they can make more and more mistakes, which ultimately can be good for you. All right, back to Kush now. 70 orders on the clock. Finally getting Doctrine. Too little, too late. We should have had this ages ago. Our Egyptian friends have this on turn 74, and that's the kind of timing that we would like to see if you're going to be Kush, if you're going to sprint for the Heliopolis. So yeah, once more, I must say, if you're doing Kush for Heliopolis sprint, try to time Doctrine somewhere within that general time frame, either right around the time you're finishing the Helio, or right around, or shortly thereafter. If you get the Heliopolis on, I don't know when we got it on this turn, to be honest, on this game. I don't know if there's an easier way to I know the timeline, but I don't want to open it up right now. Yeah, so I don't know when we got it in this game, but we're still 5 years away from Doctrine, which just feels like a damn shame when you have not 70 orders per turn. 80 orders per turn, actually. Looks like the Egyptians have pulled back from the southern front. Makes sense. I really think there's enough. I feel like they're winning enough in the north that they can just kind of keep plowing through. I really like this harass. Probably focus a little bit more energy on doing that. I really think with enough force marching, the Egyptians could just abandon this battlefield right here and just pop open Aniba or Sedenga. And even if they go to Sedenga, look at the movement here from these beiges. That also puts the onus on our opponent to force march, to come deal with a potential siege of Sedenga. And then you could just keep... And look, the hero, for example, does not need to force march. So you can just ping back and forth between the two fronts. And as long as you're maybe making one kill or denying build queues each time you go back and forth, and you're not losing too much in response, and I don't think you would with the amount of effort it would take these archers to kind of get up here and get into good position. Or maybe you would. I don't know. Hard to say. Hard to say. All right, does look like Kush is backing off. They did take a kill. What was that? An enemy something? Oh, actually, I can use the tooltip. Byream. Oh, rough. Thanks, EQCR, with the summary saying that the Heliopolis was about to be built in one turn, but the Kushites abdicated off of their builder. I don't know if that was intentional or maybe the response to an event and they hadn't quite thought of it. But yeah, that certainly sucks. Okay, so some beiges, and this is what's really great. So yes, we took some beiges north, we obliterated the Lancer, but then another thing that you have to think about is the position that has just opened up. We could send this entire northern army north to Aniba, likely kill these two beiges, and that's a win for us. So again, even just one Mounted Lancer in this situation effectively serves as bait, where you're forcing your opponent to think, like, where am I moving my units? What is my strategy? What am I killing? And ideally, they mess up, and their movements create more and more opportunities for you to take advantage. I want to take a peek back over to the Egyptian side. We don't have enough in the tank for yet another launch offensive next turn. And we're rushing out an Onager. Does make sense. Onager back here in this stronghold would be quite lovely, I must say. This would be a perfect tile for it. It's a hill. It's a stronghold, which I'm pretty sure means that they get... Yeah. It's the urban defense only work for infantry, but the stronghold and citadel work for any unit. That's important to remember that difference. So yeah, a Onager up on this stronghold would be quite nice, in fact. All right, back to Egypt. 61 orders in the till again. Infantry square next turn. Which will be great. I'm going to take a brief look. Forgive me here. Take a brief look and see if we've been ortho-rushing anywhere. 1 there. 2 there. Can't see that. Nothing. Probably not here because there's no Christianity. Yeah. Alright, so still plenty of opportunities to ortho-rush across the Empire of Egypt. And that can also be useful too if you want to, like, for example, we have 61 orders, right? Let's say, just for the sake of the argument, we're comfortable with our reinforced position here, and we have decided that, you know, we're actually just going to capture Sayala and then advance, right? Whether that's a good idea or not, I'm just saying that's Egypt's decision. What you can do is back these units off a little bit, get yourself into a strong position, and then you say that we have 40 orders left. Well, take 12 and finish this guy. Take 6 and finish this guy. Take 10 and finish this guy. And we still have another 10 to use, right? So that's the thing that I like so much about Orthodox. Orthodoxy as a law is you can decide how much and how little you need, like how many and how few orders you need in the given turn, and wherever that limit is, let's say you spend, 61 orders, we just spent 30 orders, and let's say we decided, you know what, my economy's fine, my units are where I need them to be, I don't need to spend any more orders, you just buy yourself. In fact, did we just do that? I think we just did that. Yes, we did. Here we go. There you go. Exactly. That's what's so beautiful. So Egypt is making the decision to hold fast with their units, saying, all right, Kush, you want to come tango? Come tango. Let's dance in the hills once more. Once again. And then they're taking 30 some odd orders or more. And they're saying, I'm going to buy time. I just bought 6 years off of this chariot. I just bought 3 years off of this lancer, right? It's the rushing units, rushing production is essentially manipulating time in this game. There's a equestrian governor he could assign. Ooh, fun! I have become very fond. All of my Yuzi games have made me become quite fond of equestrian. Even though I'm a big Hittite fan, I never really cared too much about watching out for equestrian, but I've changed tune on that now with my mounted friends, thanks to the Yuji. Playing the Yuji, whether you love them or hate them. Uh-oh, am I bugging? Oh, no, okay, great. Love them or hate them, the Yuji really had played a hand in the last 4 or 5 months of kind of changing some of the ways I look at the game in a pretty core way with respect to certain unit functionalities, family functionalities, and other stuff. And even equestrian. Equestrian is one I look out for quite often now, even when I play someone like Tamil, because of course, the mounted unique unit there. I've always kept an eye out for strict. I love strict in like a champion seat. That's always been a big one for me. A strict governor in a champion seat is just chef's kiss. But now I make sure I keep my eye out for if I can actually utilize equestrian. It is a little bit trickier to utilize, I think, but still worthwhile for keeping an eye out. Could Moroten capture Aniba this turn? I think they could have. To be honest, I think they actually could have. They do nearly two pips worth of damage, so that's 3 to 4 damage per turn, per hit from their lancers. Maybe they don't have enough. They have 1, 2, 3, 4. 5. Yeah, maybe they need 1 more. So maybe next turn they'll be able to do it, or the turn after once they get into position. Love seeing the usage of orthodoxy here, though. From the Egyptians, anyway. Again, we're still behind on that on Chloris' side. But that's one of the nice things about streaming these games, though, because both players are playing a fine game, and it's been an enjoyable watch, but my hope here is that if nothing else, if Chloris makes it through a rewatch or skips around to, tune in to our observations, criticisms, or tips, maybe he can take a big lesson from this game and realize that Doctrine could have been an integral aspect of his building of power early on in the early stages of the game. In fact, now that things have hit a lull, I do actually want to check when. Of course, I can't because it's in Russian, but let's take a peek back on our Egyptian friend. Here we go. We will get a notification somewhere that the Heliopolis has begun construction. Okay. Heliopolis was completed on turn 87, so we've only been 13 turns with the Heliopolis in tow, but this kind of just to cap off what I've been saying, if you're planning this as the crown jewel of a Kushite empire, I think, again, if you're going to get it on turn 80, fine. If you're going to get it on turn 90, fine. Whatever, like, I'm not even talking about a rush. I'm just saying, whatever that is, you want orthodoxy coming online within 10 turns, 5 turns of the Heliopolis being completed. Ideally, you have orthodoxy by the time it's completed, because that would have been 13 turns of being able to ortho rush. And again, remember, for a point in time, actually no, right now, we have 20 more orders than our opponent. On turn 87, after the Heliopolis, we jumped to 15 to 20 more orders than our opponent. So in addition to being able to fight battles, we could have just been rapid-fire rushing units every turn. In addition to our Zealot training, by the way, which would have ramped it up to multiple units per turn that we could have rushed. EQCR asking about pillage healing. Certainly could do it. I suspect that's a hard bargain. I mean, we do have workers we could just repair, I guess. But I think sometimes people don't think of it because they also don't want to lose buildings or lose improvements of territory that they're going to capture. But yes, the comment was the Egyptian player could be pillaging to heal their units in this territory, in addition to using these forts. Looks like, it's so funny, as soon as I said there was a lull and we can look at the time frame, it looks like Kush did make a move here, so I apologize for not being focused on it. But it looks like we took a couple kills, or we killed a scout. Oh, okay. That's not great. But we killed a scout, and we've unlimbered here, and this positioning is kind of killing me, because I feel like what Kush keeps doing is sending its units off to die. But we'll see how this Egyptian turn pans out. Getting infantry, should be getting infantry square now. Yep, there it is, infantry square. I would love to see, oh, actually. Hydraulics actually might be good. A couple of ballista attacking into these beiges might not be too bad. Otherwise, martial code would be fun. We wouldn't really be able to leverage the econ of Holy War all that much. Although maybe we could through selling resources. But most importantly, you get that extra promotion. Yeah, there we go. Martial code, and then we can do barding and bring some cataphracts for some crazy routing and call that a game. We already have battle line because we have infantry square. So yeah, martial code into barding would be a nice finish. Could see some cataphracts in this game before it closes out. Aaron with a little bit of shade. Love to see it. Yes, Chloris loves sending units off to die. Luckily for him, Moroten does too. Fantastic. Well, it does certainly make for entertaining watch. Why can't we all just live in peace? You know, Blunt, I asked myself the same thing. Most VP by turn 120. Well, if we did that, then Alcaris would win all of the game. Then nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. You can have him run a tournament. We can't let him win the tournament. That just wouldn't be right. All right, what are we doing? We have 52 orders left. I mean, I expect we're going to see more rushing here. We have the economy for it. Like, this is the other thing. Think of it this way, right? What does it take to build a mounted lancer? 100 wood, we're making 150 wood per turn. 100 food, we're making 186 food per turn. So this is the other thing that I can't stop harping on about orthodoxy. Between orthodoxy, units, regardless of price scaling, but also with our income, you can literally rush a mounted lancer one turn, every turn, indefinitely for the rest of the game. Because you figure, this game has arguably, what, another 20 turns? Maybe 30 at most? Probably only 10 or 15, but like, you call it 20 or 30 turns, yeah. I don't care how much the price scales. You're basically going to be able to rush a mounted lancers from this city, and once you run out of the ability, once the order cost gets too high, you just jump to a different strong culture city and start ortho rushing from that city, and your economy can keep up with that. 1 unit per turn indefinitely for the rest of the game, irregardless of your trading output. That's pretty nuts. I really would like to see Moroten try to not strong arm his way through this corridor, but I think sometimes when you get wrapped up in these intense battles, I've done this, sometimes you just want to plow through on principle. Nice route chain there. 3 kills. 27 orders left. A couple of lancers have not fired, so maybe we can get another Beja down. But more Bejas being rushed out from Aniba again. All the more reason to try and maybe flank, blitz, and take a city down. War Elephant coming out in Kerma. Honestly, if you open up a route like this, let's look at the hero. Yeah, again, the hero can make it all the way to the capital. 300 training is enough for a couple of force marches. Could be a really devastating move on 1 turn. To kind of hang back some of these lancers. Keep doing this tango on the mountainside. And then when you get an opening like this on one of the next couple of turns, where you just, clear out these tiles, you just full blitz with about 5 or 6 mounted lancers, spend all the training, force march to the capital, pop it open. There's nothing here defending it, not even a worker. And then that is a demoralizing blow. Because even if they came back and retook the city on that very same turn, now they're split in 2 different directions. The effort to retake Kerma, while you're able to skirmish along all of these lines now, should surely mean you're going to keep Sayala. But it does look like the Egyptians are going to keep Sayala regardless, so I guess we don't need to go that complex. But still, popping open someone's capital is a demoralizing blow. All right, back to Kush's turn. 12 orders left for the Egyptians, so I suspect they will rush something. I want to take a peek at this light chariot. That's 22 orders. What else? What about the horseman? Horseman is 19 orders. Anybody else coming on down line? We could rush out this spear for only 4 orders if we want to. Get him up and running in 1 turn. It doesn't have our state religion. 18 orders. See, look at this. 18 orders for a pikeman. So if let's add this up. 18 orders for this pikeman. 18 orders for that pikeman. That's 36. Nope, that's pretty expensive if we're going to do a broad one. 22 orders. Okay, so that's 48. And then how much for this guy? 19 orders. 48 plus 19, that's 50. All right, so yeah, basically, if we did nothing in 1 turn, and I'm not advocating this, but I'm saying if we did nothing in 1 turn, you could rush out 1, 2, 3, 4 units with orthodoxy, and you don't deplete anything. It's not like our stockpile goes to 0. On the next turn, you're going to have 62 orders again. It's not like training or civics or citizens for volunteers where you eventually run out of the thing. Once your order economy is up and running, you have your order economy indefinitely. It replenishes every single turn. Which, in my opinion, is what makes Orthodoxy the most efficient long-term rushing mechanic in the entire game. Because you never run out of orders. You always have orders. All right, coming up, taking some kills here as Kush. Going in for another route chain. A couple of Bejas have fired. We have our first kill down. A horseman. We got the horseman that rushed. Our zealot has joined the battlefield on a maceman. Gonna need a little bit more damage here. Probably a good opportunity to use the horse archer. Wow, that's nice. Some nice damage from the horse archer. Some really nice damage from the horse archer. Love a horse archer. Become a big fan of them recently. Did you even doing... Oh, that's a light chariot. Still, they can do 8 damage to this light chariot. They can do pretty good damage to all the units in this location. You could bring him up here and try to take out this onager. putting him on the stronghold, which would make him harder to kill. Making a really great use of the route chain. This is 3 units here. So the bloody back and forth on this mountain ridge, on this hillside. The Battle of the Mysian Olympus. Yes, there are pikes. They're coming out over here. They're not yet built. I'm sure we'll see them get ortho rushed. We have... Oh, nice. Great use. And all right. Oh, great use. Great use of the ship to keep securing the route. Great use. Another ship. Can we get this? Can we get this? This is a Lancer. He'll be trickier to kill. We have a Beja nearby that can do 8 damage. Excuse me. We have a couple nearby. Yep, so we can secure this kill, and we'll get ourselves all the way to the Onager. This is going to be a nice route chain. We can get our Horse Archer in the group. Put the Horse Archer next to this Onager. Or, no, next to this Onager here. Kill this Onager. That way, can't fire on us. If we can kill both Onagers, that'll be a huge win. And let's take a double check on the Egyptian side. We'll have 500 training next turn, potentially depending on how many kills that we get in our turn. Nice. That's exactly where I wanted to put the Horse Archer. We're going to hit this guy, right? With the Horse Archer, then go in with the... Oh, shit! We killed this guy! No! I don't know which one was better to kill. I feel like this one was, because then we could have attacked the Archer and put at least a little bit more damage on the Archer, but I guess who would have had the better firing range on everything? It would have basically been the same. So I guess it doesn't really matter. Oh, there is a pike right there. I guess we did have one coming out. First pike in the field. 14 damage on a Horse Archer. Only 6 to a Beja, though. But certainly going to make it trickier to use these route chains that have actually been helping Kush out quite a bit. Been making decent use of Panic, decent use of Chariots of all things. And that beautiful Horse Archer is going to be going down. No, the city wouldn't have fallen, that's for sure. I still think maybe taking this Onager out and getting at least 1 extra attack on the longbow before the walls go up might have made more sense. But I guess it doesn't really matter. Either or would have worked. Actually, I think I would have killed this one because it was full health. All right, kill this one. I mean, I guess you still end up with a half health Onager either way. I don't know. Hard to say. I'm not the best tactician anyway, so what do I know? All right, we do have enough. Did we have... Am I not paying attention to them rallying troops or whatever? Because I thought we only had 500 training coming in this turn. But now we're at 900, so maybe... Ooh, the Army of God. Cool. We can get promotion for our spearmen. Oh, and we can get Control 7 Wonders. We have our crowning ambition. Or national ambition. Cool. Sorry. More battles happening. And... yeah, long story short, we have enough for a launch offensive, so this is going to be a brutal, brutal round. We've already killed... Oh, we've only killed 1 unit. But we're definitely going to kill more, that's for sure. And it's funny because I know in the previous session there were a couple of critical comments being made about Moroten's use of launch offensive, and why I think that's funny is because, if nothing else, this game has certainly given him the opportunity to practice the mechanic a bunch, because I'm pretty sure this is at least his 6th launch offensive that's about to come on in this game. He's launched offensive at least like half a dozen times, pretty liberally in this game. Alright, that's going to be a dead Beja. We need something to kill it, though. We have a horseman. Horseman up here. Yep, there it is. There's the route. We're going to launch offensive, or do we have anything else? Yep, there it is. Launch offensive once again. Man, I feel like we could make a full montage of Moroten using launch offensive with Egypt in just this one match. I think you could literally just make a launch offensive montage off of this one game. There it is. There is a dead elephant. And this pike will do a great job of denying any future routing shenanigans with this position. You'll have to kill it. Look at this maceman, though. Look at this zealot maceman. That is some damage. I found out recently in one of my own games that macemen actually do make really good. I don't want to say counter, but make really good. Like if your opponent has pikes and you don't, and you're behind, but you can get to macemen quick enough, then you'll be a lot safer than you probably think you would be, because pikes versus macemen is a pretty even matchup. So you won't be able to have pikes just come into your territory and bully you around as much as the person who, shot up to an 8-strength unit is probably hoping that they'd be able to do. Macemen do hold their own quite well against pikemen. Yeah, it can be demoralizing. I agree. Saying that Kush has been doing its best to claw itself back, but launch offensive is just beating him back down. But it goes to show how archetypes can be game defining. We talk a lot about the early game archetypes, right? The power of a schemer or a tactician, or getting ahead on certain areas of momentum, or like the mid-game judge or builder, just kind of carrying carrying your tempo away above and beyond that of your opponents, or the sage's scholar combo, which has been a personal annoyance of mine recently. Really been annoyed by that, but powerful combo. But not enough conversation has taken place, in my opinion, around these end game conflict points and archetypes that can define the game just as dramatically, but in a different way. And I think the hero is arguably one of the best end game archetypes. If you're in one of these powerful back and forth slogs, and you're the only person with reliable and consistent access to launch offensive, that can be game defining indeed. All right, back to Kush. 6 units down. Pushed off of the hills once again. Doctrine in 2 turns. The one good thing about that is that's going to open up in a brand new currency this late into the game. So that's the alternative way to look at it. The fact that we haven't had Doctrine all game means we haven't been using it all game, which means when it comes online with our 78 orders per turn, we will have fresh build queues all over the Empire with which to start smashing that button at its cheapest possible cost. So that is... Oh, no! No, hate to see it. But it does make sense. Chloris is calling it good game here. Says thank you for the session, but he did too many mistakes. And yes, indeed, both players made a handful of mistakes. But of course, Moroten was able to push through. What a match, guys. What an incredible match. Great to see. I love that we had some southern conflict. I almost actually wasn't even keeping track of this. It looks like we broke in a little bit here as Egypt, but of course the main focal point was the battle up here, And yes, Demas or Chloris needs to surrender. And I'll let them know that we're going to do a post-game chat. And Boldus, if you're still hanging around, feel free to drop in because you cast most of this game. So once again, feel free to pop in for the post-game chat because that would be easier for me because I didn't watch most of this game. I only watched the Battle of Saela. So I'm going to let them know we'll be in... here we go. All right, popped into the Hanging Gardens chat. Turn 102, not too bad for a finishing game.
Hello.
Hello, Chloris. Welcome to the chat. And hello, Moroten. Congrats on the win.
Hello.
All right, let me turn you up a little bit, Moroten. Oh, I can't. Okay. Moroten, you're a little quiet on my side.
Got to hear a sign for some reason.
Chat, let me know if you can hear everybody. They both said hello. Because I'm also deaf, too, so... In fact, actually, I just reminded myself that I need to have my subtitles on.
Wait, I can hear you now.
I can hear you a little bit more. Alright, guys. Epic, epic game. Insane battle from both of you over this peninsula. I guess I'll start with Chloris. Chloris, how are you feeling about your defense?
I must say that I did a lot of mistakes throughout all of the game. Like, immediately from the start, I forgot to declare the war, starting with Schemia. Then I forgot to adopt the child.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. That ruined my game plan, and there was this video that made it hard for me to push the science. But I also didn't... I was preparing for Moroten to actually attack me at the bottom.
Yeah.
I thought that his middle bireams were just for... how do you say that in English?
Transportation.
Just position and the way to distract me.
Oh, yeah.
And I also made a quite big mistake by not going Doctrine.
Yes, yes, I had talked about
these
that.
orders to rush out even more. I basically had all the civics, all the military points. Together with Doctrine, I would...
The one question I had, too, was recently, because you ended the last session, you were going toward the free Beja archers, and then even after that, you got the free horse archer. Both times, what was it? Infantry square was in your hand. And did you think that pikes just wouldn't help your situation?
About that. It's too... then I saw 12 or 11 turns on it. I was like, no, this game won't last this long.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, I can see that.
And I also was thinking about cycling through the cards to get to the Doctrine, but when I saw the pikemen, just... I also was trying to make a huge route chain the previous turn, and I was just little 2 or 3 damage to extend the capture one more time.
Yeah, but I do think you had a couple of fantastic route chains. So, I mean, definitely good job. Every time that we were watching and we thought you were kind of out of it, you kind of came back swinging, and so that was pretty impressive to see.
If I was able to make this current route chain and delay the capture, I probably would continue playing because I have a Doctrine in 2 turns. I would even losing most of the units, like now I would be able to quickly recover it, because I don't know for a fact, but I feel like I have a lot more military in all of my cities.
It certainly would have been a very different game, I think,
Yep.
if you were able to get Doctrine Online in general.
Yep.
So,
That was mostly-
Moroten, how are you feeling about the game? What informed your decision to focus on this peninsula more than anything else? You seem to have been determined to just plow through this hillside here and win in this one location rather than trying to maybe blitz around or go in different directions with your Lancer advantage.
Well, it feels good winning, and Chloris, I think you put up an excellent defense. I mean, it was such a pain to break through here. Well, I had this plan to try to make sure that he could not reinforce this peninsula. I remember I did the boat movement at the beginning of my attack in order for him to not to be able to follow troops onto the peninsula. But somehow I mismanaged that. He still managed to get troops onto the peninsula, and I figured I just would battle through it. And the peninsula was part of my game plan. If I had the peninsula, I wouldn't really focus going eastwards. I would just use the movement of my mounted lances to blitz through all over the place.
Yeah.
But I felt like the peninsula was key for that strategy.
It was definitely an epic battle to watch because you guys kept going back and forth about I think Ciela, once it was breached, I think it changed hands between you guys and wasn't taken officially something like 3 or 4 times until it was finally just taken now. So I think it remained breached for something like. Actually, we can probably even look at the history. Let me take a quick peek to see if I can find it.
I just want to add something. That city was actually one of the best cities I had. So losing it right now, giving all of these ore and citadel to him, was the reason why I decided to call it GG.
Yeah.
It's a very strong city.
Ciela was breached on turn 88, so it finally has been captured now here on turn 102. So that's over 10 turns you guys were fighting over that one location.
It was stressful. I mean, I was also I was worried about the eventuality of you going pikeman, but I was also not that fussed about it because this is basically your iron production. I don't know if you could afford that many pikes.
Yep.
Maybe that's stressful.
Losing the city, I think I lost like 100 iron per turn or something like that. It was painful.
Yeah, let's take a look. Oh wow, yeah. Turn 88 is when we lost it. Cush's iron economy was plus 150 per turn, and then it nosedived to 53 per turn. So we had 100 iron coming out of that city. That's incredible. EQCR asking in chat for Chloris, I'm assuming, how hard was it to fight the hero?
Oh, that's another point of this game. I just didn't have my personal opinion, but most of the most problems that's I don't know how to actually.
Take
so
your
Moroten
time.
had a very strong leader.
Yeah.
And mine was meh.
Yeah, that can
I
always be
think
unfortunate.
All these hero, how do you call it in English? The ability of the hero that
Launch
gives
offensive.
A launch offensive.
launch offensive.
Yeah.
It was a decisive ability in this war.
Yeah, Moroten, you used it like 6 times or something like that. I was talking about it just before the game ended. It was crazy. It was crazy how many times you were able to use that.
I was making so much money. I mean, training, but also killing so many units in this war.
Yeah. Boldus had a question for you, Moroten. He says at one point you had an opportunity to interrupt and destroy the Great Lighthouse. You had a fire ship and a scout nearby. Did it ever cross your mind to delete the production of the lighthouse?
Yes, but I couldn't. I did the math. So I could use my fire ship to move his boat that was protecting the worker. But then I was out of space in order to kill the actual worker with the remaining boats.
Oh. Well, just so you know, in the future, if you fire ship the boat on top of the worker, you'll push the worker too.
Oh, well, today I learned.
There you go. Yeah, so awesome. No, but that's cool. Yeah, they changed that at one point a while back. I don't think it initially worked like that, like a couple years ago, but sometime in the last year or two, it was changed where now if you push a military unit and there's a civilian unit underneath it, the civilian unit goes with them.
Okay, I was really considering it.
All right. Well, that makes sense. No, your explanation makes totally sense. If you didn't know that's how that works, then yeah, you did the math, you tried to make it happen, and you didn't think it would happen. So that makes sense. All right. So I don't see any other questions from chat, and I mostly only tuned in at the start of the Battle of Sayala last session, which I have to say was incredible to watch. But you both did crazy good, and it felt like it could go either way for quite some time. So this, I think, is one of the most intense battles we've seen of the tournament so far. So kudos to both of you, and thank you for letting us watch. And if either of you have any other comments or things you'd like to share before I close out the stream, feel free. But otherwise, good luck in the next round.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have nothing to say more. I'm still. I can say one thing. I'm still very mad at myself for not adopting the child at the start of the game. I think it's the most powerful part of the schemer, actually.
Yeah.
Because the child, you can easily get to plus 200 opinion with the kid, and he will give you just million of stats.
Yeah. 100%, and that's always annoying to go into a game with some sense of a game plan and then realize, 20 turns in that, oh shit, I missed a step.
I forgot, yes.
Yeah, it's super annoying. It happens to me, in fact, interestingly enough, it happens to me a lot with the schemer. I really like the schemer opener, but I almost always forget to adopt, and I agree, that's one of the more powerful abilities of the archetype, and I'm always forgetting to adopt my kids. So yeah, I feel you on that one, and that can definitely take the wind out of your sails when it comes to setting up the rest of your game.
So just the tip to higher stats with schemer, don't forget to adopt the child.
Yeah.
That's all.
All right, well, thank you both. I'm going to close out the stream now, so you guys have a good rest of your day, and thanks again for letting us watch. It was really, really awesome, and kudos to you, Moroten, on the win.
Thank you.
All right, bye, guys. Okay. So that is the game. Epic, epic battle between Egypt and Kush. Really could have gone either way for quite some time, and I do agree with Chloris's read on the situation. I think if he had gotten to Doctrine, even at the end of all of this, of conflict, he still would have had a pathway of staying in the game, I think. Maybe not a direct path to an easy win, but certainly, as I was just pointing out, a way to stay in it, because he would have had a brand new currency to begin rushing production in all of his cities. I think he would have had enough orders to instantly rush every single thing that is currently in the queue right now. The turn Doctrine comes online. Of course, some things would already be finished in that time frame. This Maceman, this Onager, but then everything, every single city would be churning out an additional unit the turn after. So yeah, if he was just able to kind of shore up a little bit of a defense or keep Sayala in play a little bit longer, get Doctrine online, that would have been a different story. Or ideally, like I've said, if you're going to make the Kush Heliopolis play, try to think about factoring in, rolling in Doctrine to your overall tech path and game plan, because if you have this by the time your Heliopolis order economy comes online, it can help shape and define the rest of your game, and you can just overwhelm your opponent with mass ability to produce units. All right, so I'm going to close out the game, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. At one point, there was nearly 30 of you in the chat. There's currently still 18 hanging out. And of course, if you've been watching after the fact on YouTube, we appreciate you being here too. Hope you've been enjoying the tournament. Please go to the Old World YouTube channel and subscribe, follow along on the playlist for other tournament games. We have more content on Old World than you could ever possibly consume, and way more to come in the future. As always, I'm Scientific, and this has been the Old World Community Tournament. Take care.